What's going on YouTube? It's Savvy Sabs and I'm back with another video. Guys, I did the unthinkable. The unthinkable. Ready? Wait for it. Wait for it. I gave up coffee. Yes, I know. It's crazy. It's hard to believe. But I gave up coffee. Now, before I go into why I gave up coffee, how I gave up coffee, and how I'm doing right now that I'm not drinking coffee, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe below, and I'll be right back. So, why did I give up coffee? Couple reasons. Two reasons. One, I gave up coffee because I started to realize that coffee was a huge trigger for my acid reflux. Now, for those of you that don't know, acid reflux is when your stomach acid starts to come up. It sometimes happens when you lay down, more likely when you lay down, and then sometimes it can happen when you're standing or you're sitting as well. But coffee is known to be a huge trigger for people that have acid reflux. Not for everybody. Some people may not have this problem, but what I started to notice is when I would drink coffee, I could feel a little bit of the acid like coming up like in my chest. I could feel the heartburn starting to come on, and I've been drinking coffee for a long time. So that was one reason why I decided to give up coffee. The second reason why I decided to give up coffee is because coffee actually was giving me some stomach issues. Yes. Something else I started to notice, like after drinking coffee, sometimes my stomach would hurt a little bit. And after talking to my doctor, I realized that coffee is actually really hard on your stomach. Who knew? I know, right? So those are the two reasons why I gave up coffee. And now you may be wondering, well, how did I do it? And what am I drinking now? How did I give up coffee? Well, couple things. Number one, I decided to quit coffee on a weekend. And this is important for those of you who are thinking about doing this. I would not recommend giving up coffee on the same day that you have to go to work. Whether you're working remotely or still going into the office, that is a bad idea. And I'm going to get into details and tell you why in just a second. So I actually started on a Sunday, which was perfect because I'm off on the weekends. And on the first day, the first thing that I noticed is that I felt irritable. Even going into the afternoon, I felt just cranky, kind of moody. Like, it's a good thing no one was around me that day. I mean, my husband was here, God bless him, but he put up with me. But I was very moody and just like mood swingy. I didn't have a lot of energy also. Like, I just felt sluggish and tired. But the big thing on day one was that I felt irritable, like cranky. Now, on that same day, I did switch to something else. I switched to green tea. I've always had green tea, but it was not my go-to. My go-to first thing in the morning was coffee. So I switched to having a cup of green tea. Green tea does not have as much caffeine in it as coffee does, but you got to be careful because some green teas, like the matchas, like those do have a lot of caffeine. So you got to be careful about the tea that you choose to switch to. But even after having a cup of green tea, it didn't do anything for me. Like I still felt irritable and kind of cranky. Now, going into day two, all right, day two was the hardest day. I'm gonna say that again. Day two was the hardest day. And the reason being is because I had work that day. I woke up, I was still a little cranky, still a little irritable, but the biggest thing I noticed on day two is that I started to get the caffeine headaches. I had a massive headache. I took some ibuprofen and that helped calm it down, but I had a headache to the point where it was hard for me to think straight. I'm like, is this a migraine? But it wasn't. It was a caffeine withdrawal headache. I had my cup of green tea, which I have here with me now. You like my little mug? My friend Susanna got me this mug. I love it. Shout out to Susanna. Anywho, yeah, the headache was really bad. So that one was difficult to deal with. And also on day 2, I felt really tired, really sluggish. Around about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I started to feel tired. Like I could have taken a nap if I had time to do so and I wasn't working. I could have taken a nap. I don't take naps. Okay? I don't take naps. So that was the roughest day for me. But going back to why I said don't try this on a day when you have to go to work, because you will feel a little irritable. You will feel a little sluggish, kind of moody, that kind of thing. So definitely start on the weekend, because like I said, the next day when I had to work, like it was really hard for me to stay focused. Coffee gave me focus first thing in the morning, and I felt like I didn't have that now. So that was very difficult. Day 3 was a little bit better. I wasn't feeling irritable, which was good. So that went away. But I still felt sluggish and I had a headache. So even the next day after the first headache, I had another headache. But I pulled through, I had my green tea, and I made it through the day. Now, it was the evening of day 3 when I noticed a big difference. For the first time in a long time, when I put my head on the pillow to go to sleep, I fell straight to sleep. I haven't been able to do that since I was like in high school, because in high school, I didn't drink coffee. So this is something to know, that like your sleep will improve. It's gonna be hard at first. You are gonna be sluggish. You will get irritable, depending on how much coffee you drink. But the sleep is so worth it. So going on to day 4, what I noticed when I woke up that morning is that I did not feel as tired. I still felt a little sluggish, but not as tired. And I did get a headache. I still got a headache on day 4. Took some ibuprofen, knocked that out. Did not feel irritable though. Had my green tea, was good to go. I slept like a baby on night 4. Now going into day 5, and this is when I really started to notice a big difference. Day 5 came and I did not have a headache. So it took me 5 days to not have that headache effect. So that's just important to know. Didn't have a headache, did not feel irritable, still felt a little sluggish. Had my green tea, slept amazingly on day 5, and then just kept it moving. Now, here's where things started to change. On day 6, it was a weekend, and I was like, I'm just gonna, have a little bit of coffee today. I had a small cup of coffee, which is, I usually didn't. I usually would have like 16 ounce or 24 ounce coffee, but I didn't do that. I had a small cup of coffee, and just that small cup of coffee made me feel kind of jittery. And that was the thing I noticed with me. Whenever I would have coffee, I used to feel a little anxious, a little jittery. And here's something to know for those of you who don't know. For those of you that have anxiety, did you know that caffeine can increase anxiety? Didn't know that. Something helpful to know. So cut that out. The next day was still a weekend, and I was like, let me try to have a small cup of coffee. I'm going to be honest with you, I couldn't even finish it. I had maybe half of it. Didn't finish it. It didn't even taste good anymore. And I don't know why, but it didn't taste good. And I used to love the taste of coffee, but it just made me feel some kind of way. Now, here I am past day 8. No coffee. Still hanging out with my friend, Mr. Bigelow, green tea. And I feel great. Like, you guys, one thing I noticed as well is that now when I wake up in the morning, I naturally wake up early. I used to only wake up early with an alarm. Like, if you wanted me to get up at 6:45, I had to set an alarm. But now I'm noticing I'm actually waking up before my alarm clock goes off at like 6, sometimes 5:30 in the morning, and I'm able to stay up and stay awake. So this is something that it was really big for me, because I've never really been like a strong morning person, but I wanted to be a morning person, but it was always hard for me to get going until I had that cup of coffee. How am I doing now? Well, now I'm doing pretty good. The sluggishness is really starting to wear off, you guys, like really starting to wear off, which is great. I have my focus first thing in the morning, which I didn't used to have that without coffee. I'm drinking more water. You know, I'm a big water drinker anyway, but I'm drinking more water. But also, like, I feel better. It's amazing, like, what caffeine can do to you. Like, the fact that I've gone from Starbucks and quit that because that was too strong, switched to Dunkin'. And it turns out Dunkin' has a lot of caffeine as well, so it's not really that much better. Not as crazy as Starbucks, but it's really not that much better. Then I switched to the Green Mountain coffee, which I showed you, which I threw down. I switched to that, still not much better. Like, so the caffeine in coffee was just too much for me. Now for you, it may be different. You may not have these symptoms with coffee. It may not affect you that way. I know some people can have a cup of coffee and go to sleep, like right after. But I was not one of those people. I never was. Coffee gave me that focus. It gave me that energy. It gave me that, like, yay, let's do this, man. You got this. But I feel so much better, you guys. Like, naturally being able to wake up early without an alarm has been like a godsend. Now, what would I have done differently? Well, first off, I wouldn't have switched straight from coffee to tea. One thing I would have done differently is I would have tapered off the coffee. So I would have gone from half decaf to half calf, and then eventually more decaf and less calf, and then eventually all decaf, and then maybe switching over to green tea. I will say, even though there is caffeine in green tea, again, it's not enough it's not the equivalent to what I was getting in coffee, or really not anywhere near. And so it really like when I crashed, I crashed. So that's one of those things that I would have done differently. Another thing I think I would have done differently is I could have alternated. So I could have had just a small cup of coffee in the morning and then a cup of green tea in the afternoon, instead of just cutting out coffee altogether and just going solely like green tea. I could have done that. So that could have been different as well. You might be wondering, how in the world did I get on this coffee kick to begin with anyway? Good question. I didn't drink coffee in high school. I started drinking coffee in college, but I would only have it when we were studying and we were staying up late to study for exams. It was not something I reached for every day, and not even on the weekend. But it wasn't until I graduated from college. I was about to say I graduated from coffee. Whoop! Wasn't until I graduated from college and I started my first professional job, and they had free coffee at work. So I was like, since it's free, I might as well grab. That wasn't good for me. So every day I came into work, I was like, might as well grab that cup of coffee. Might as well grab that cup of coffee. And then on the weekends, they had built a new Starbucks. I would go down the street to the Starbucks and oh, it's the weekend. I just came from the gym. Might as well grab a coffee. And so that's how it started for me. And then it got to the point where I couldn't go without coffee. I can't remember the last time before I started this journey. I'm trying to think the last time I did not have coffee. And I have to go back to college, pretty much. But I did used to drink tea, especially living in the South. I used to get iced tea, but not because I needed to be alert, just because I wanted to have a nice cold iced tea. So if you're thinking about doing this journey, one thing to ask yourself is, are you reaching for coffee in the morning because it makes you focus and it gives you, alertness? Or are you reaching for coffee because you need it? And if it's gotten to the point where you're reaching for coffee because you need it, you need to let it go. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today. I'm going to finish up my little tea here I got in my cute little cup. And that's pretty much it, you guys. I'm done here. Boom, pick up some tea.